everybody, how's it going? My name is Melissa and this is my channel Geeky Witch, about all things cross stitch in my life. Thanks for spending a little more time with me today. It is September 2nd, 2022, and it's the Friday to kick off Labor Day weekend here in the US, so it's a nice long weekend. I got out of work early. It's an absolutely gorgeous day outside, which is awesome because August was so hot here. I mean, like brutally hot, humid, and with no rain. So it's nice to finally have some weather that's civil. I like having my windows open and not having to rely on my air conditioning the whole time, so this is awesome. I'm going to show you a few things today. I've got my stuff back from the framer, so I'm going to show you the 3 pieces I had framed. And I'm going to talk a little bit about entering things into state fairs and why I personally think you should do it. And just indulge me on my soapbox for a few minutes. Then I'm going to show you what I have planned for the upcoming month for September, because of course September is a themed month of insert something starting with S, whether it's samplers or smalls or whatever. So I've got those plans for the month, and that will about wrap it up, I think, for right now. So let's start off with the framing, and we're going to start with the oldest piece first and move forward in time. So I'm going to apologize because I've started trying to record this a couple of different times, and there's a little bit of reflection coming in from my window. I've closed the blinds, but there's still going to be a little bit of sunlight glare. So I'll be kind of trying to move this around for you. But the first piece is my Teresa Wentzler castle. And yeah, so you can just barely make out my computer monitor, actually. I think you're just seeing it reflecting on itself. Oh, that's fun. All right, so anyway, this is Teresa Wentzler's castle. This was roughly the 3rd or 4th project I ever started stitching in about 1990. And it is stitched on 14 count Aida. And this is the first piece in my life that I considered a stitch diary of a sort. This one took a journey with me. It started in high school. As my parents were getting divorced, it followed me from Montana growing up to Boston, Massachusetts for college. Worked on it on and off through college, and into my own little apartment in Boston for a couple of years. Then it meandered its way into a storage box for a little bit. And then as we were moving here into our house here in Rhode Island, I found it again and finally finished it up in 2006. So this took about a 16-year journey. And I can remember roughly what was going on at various spots stitching this, which is one of the reasons I love stitching in the first place, because looking at your own work sometimes can bring back memories. So I chose to have this framed with a matting, because since it was older, there were some stains on it and whatnot that just refused to come out. So I had it close framed with the matting. Like I said, it's on 14 count Aida because that's what Teresa charted on at that time. And that's what the kit came with, including for all of those quarter stitches. I'm really happy with how this came out. The only reason it didn't get framed earlier, honestly, was trying to decide how I wanted it done and making sure I had the money to get done what I wanted to do, because matting's expensive, always has been. But yeah, really happy how this came out. And as you can tell from the reflection, when I get stuff professionally framed, I do put it behind glass. That's primarily because I have cats, and I don't want a ton of cat hair all over everything, and for that matter, my hair. So that is that one. Super, super happy. And you can see how big this thing is. I mean, it's a good sized piece. Before I go further, I used a place called the Preservation Framer. It's in North Attleboro. And if you have been, it's on Main Street, I think, in North Attleboro, in fact. If you know Pam from Stitching in the Land of Good Enough, who has the new shop, Stitch New England, the Preservation Framer is directly across the street from them. And they apparently are getting a decent amount of business from stitchers now. They are pricey because custom framing is. They definitely will work with you. They provide, you can either get it pinned there or you can get it laced. They will do the lacing for you. They will do some stretching. They did also mention that with certain fabrics, they are happy to try to get stains out for you if it's something that will work. So it looks like they're the real deal. Highly recommend them. And all 3 pieces that I brought in came back within 2 weeks, completely done. And nicely boxed up and protected and everything. So definitely recommend them if you're in the New England area and are looking to get any type of needlework framed up. So, all right, so there's the castle. And then the next piece I got framed was my Mirabilia Round Robin. And this is, let me find the good, I've got cats hissing at each other, fabulous. It's about, let's see, no, well, that's about as good as it's going to get. All right, so this is a round robin that I participated in 2011 into the beginning of 2012. I finished my square in the bottom in July of 2012. I'm the person who designed the framing and outlined what I wanted stitched out of each of the Mirabilia queens that you see here. Plus, I think it's Royal. One of the charts isn't named specifically a queen, but because she had the profile, that's what I put in there because at the time there weren't a lot of them. I think they have had a couple more since this time period that have this profile, but this was what there was at the time. So stitched by 8 of us and across 5 countries. Of course, there's the US, we had Canada, the UK, Australia, and New Zealand. So this traveled a lot. I am super happy with how it came out, and it keeps going towards where it's way too shiny. Round robins in general are fun, but they can be nerve-wracking. You really need to get lucky with the group that you're stitching with. And in this case, I was super, super lucky. Everybody stitched their parts, everyone got stuff out on time, everyone communicated with each other. It was awesome. I know some of them become disasters, but this one worked great. We all had our own piece rotating at the same time, and we just had like an assignment within the ring. So you were always receiving from the same person and then sending off to the same next person every single round. So they were just going in order. We all had our own themes. Mine happened to be queens. Some people did pixies. One did things that were themed to babies. One did mermaids. One person put one of the Christmas pieces looking like it was in a shadow box. So it was fun. You got to do a lot of different stuff and touch a lot of different Mirabilias in small batches over the course of a year and a half. And this is the one that I sent around. So super happy that this is now going to be up on my wall. I chose this frame because just by sheer chance, the decorative border here kind of matches what's here on the queen. So that's that one. Let me carefully put that over here. Okay, and the final piece, which is the newest one, and you've seen this in recent videos, is my witch's wheel. It's framed. It doesn't look awesome. And and they even, this one they put black paper on the back, which I love. You'll also notice this one's not as reflective as the others. I intentionally got art glass on this one that doesn't have quite as much reflection, because this is the one I am putting into the fair this year. And I wanted to make sure that no matter where it was hung in the barn where they have all the creative stuff, that the glare wouldn't be hitting the frame, it wouldn't be hitting the glass and you couldn't see it. Because you never know quite where they're going to hang these things. And previous things that I've put in were hung a little too high, and then you couldn't see them with the reflection from the lights on the ceiling. So I'm glad I paid a little extra money on this, and plus with all the bling I want you to be able to see it. So that is this one. And as mentioned before, this is Witch's Wheel from Glendon Place. It's stitched on the called for 32 count solar, and it is DMC black with a whole ton of millhill beads. I did have some folks that were like, oh, you should get it framed round. And I have seen this framed round, and it does look good. The reason I chose to go square is because my personal opinion is that the fabric for this thing is just as much of a I need to show this off as the stitching, because it's such an unusual fabric and it's kind of art in itself in a way. So I really did want to have the sunburst effect of the fabric. And I think I framed it at, it's like 1.5 inches out, so it's not tremendously huge. I mean, this is maybe 16 inches square framed. Not too bad. Super happy how this came out. And like, I am going to be submitting this coming Wednesday. I'm driving this out to the Big E in Springfield, Mass. So if you are going to the Big E Fair this year between things like the 16th of September and the 2nd of October, whatever that Sunday is, you'll see this here at the Creative Barn. All right, let me put these away really quickly, and then I'm going to get on my soapbox. So, one moment. Okay, so why I think that everybody should put something into the fair, by Melissa. Thank you for joining my TED Talk today. Every year about this time, you start seeing folks on Facebook who are showing off that, you know, they enter their stuff into the fair. Hey, they got a ribbon, awesome. Or people who are upset because they entered stuff into the fair and they feel they were unfairly judged, didn't get anything, feel frustrated, whatnot. And I totally get the frustration and the disappointment of not getting a ribbon. Totally understand that. I was terrified of entering my stuff into the fair. Absolutely terrified. And then one year I was like, you know what? I'm just going to jump in and do it. And I realized it's not so bad. Here's why I think you should do this. The only way we keep people interested in cross stitch who are being exposed to it for the first time is by showing what's out there. If you ask general people who know about cross stitch in general but aren't exposed to the depth of styles, chances are they're going to tell you that they think that everybody who stitches are little old ladies who are all doing like boring samplers, or something artsy cutesy, probably stuff they saw in the 80s, lots of ducks with bows on them, or teddy bears or stuff, that kind of stuff. Because let's face it, cross stitch kind of had a downturn for a while and went under the radar, and it definitely is on its way back up right now. But a lot of people simply don't realize how broad the craft is, because the only exposure they get to it is maybe walking through Joann's or Michael's or Hobby Lobby and seeing the very limited selection of kits that you see there. And that's it. I mean, they're not going to cross-stitch stores like we do. So they don't realize that it's not just one type of stitching. There's a whole world of stitching out there, you know? The only way we get people new into the craft is exposing them to the craft. And that isn't necessarily going to be sitting down with them initially and showing them how to do X's with floss. Sometimes it's just going to be, hey, look what I stitched. You know, they're going to go to the fair. They're going to go to a local community art display, craft display, whatever, and see what people in their community have put together. That's how you get people interested. And that's also how you continue to deepen the craft. Because the wider the personalities and the wider the interest is, the broader the categories of types of stitching and the more experimental it's going to be, and the more avenues you have to explore in the craft. And, you know, some people absolutely do like, this is what I stitch, this is what I like to stitch, and I'm not going over here. That's cool. There is plenty of room in cross stitch for all of us. Absolutely. You know, I'm one of those, I want to stitch everything. I love exposing myself to everything. Are there things that I prefer over others? Absolutely. I'm not a huge full coverage stitcher. It's just not my thing, as much as some people who absolutely adore heaven and earth designs, for example. I'm not one of them. But that's just my personal preference, right? Toby, can we not hiss at other cats, please? Sorry. One moment. I have a cat dispute to... Sorry. I have my door partially shut and Toby's in here with me. And because it's glass, there's cats on the other side of the glass and they're all discussing matters with each other. The joy of being in a multi-cat household. All right. Anyway, so that is my why you need to enter stuff to the fair. Don't worry about the ribbons. Show off what you've done. Be proud of what you've done. You may inspire somebody else. You never know. And if you get critique that you don't agree with, that's okay. Remember, you don't have to listen to the critique. Your stitching is your stitching. And also, if you're someone who likes to go to the fair like I do, for example, the Big E, you can submit up to 3 pieces at the Big E fair. Each entry is $5. But for entering just in general, you get 2 tickets to the fair. So already it becomes a good thing for me, because for my $5 entry, I'm getting 2 tickets in, which are like, I think $12 each if you buy them in advance and $15 at the gate. So I'm making out just by entering, being part of the fair, and then being able to go to the fair to enjoy it because I've helped participate in it. So please, enter your stuff into the fair. Don't worry about the critiques. Show off what you do, because we need people to continue to come into the craft, to continue to broaden the craft, and the more the merrier, right? Because there's plenty of room in this pool for all of us. All right, so that's my promotion. If you have any concerns on entering, that you just need a reassuring voice, drop me a line. Seriously. MeeCWitch@gmail.com. I will encourage you to the end of time to get your stuff into the fair. And I get being afraid of it. I was the first time, and then I just dove in and I'm like, oh, why was I so worried? So, all right, moving on. Hi, everybody. How's it going again? So my plan to put things away and immediately continue filming failed miserably. I had noises, I had cats hissing at each other. It was... So it's now Sunday. Magically, the joys of not living alone in a house and having people forget that sound travels. Anyway, so sorry for the really rough cut that's going to happen. Well, you've already seen it in this video, to destroy the part that was way too loud and obnoxious. I'm going to continue with what I started on Friday with showing you my plans for September. And I decided for the S-themed September, as many do, whether it's samplers, smalls, starts, anything. I decided to pick smalls this year because I have a number of different small projects. Hi, Toby, everyone. Yes, he's going to sit in his box right beside me, where he always does. I decided to do smalls because I've got a class coming up in about 2 weeks with the Tudor Rose Sampler Guild for finishing work on one small. And I've got, Christmas ornaments to do for exchanges or for gifts to start kicking up. I also, during the Black Needle Society Frogwort retreat, when we were doing stash dives and digging through all of our stuff, I discovered a couple of smalls that are close to finishing that I could probably just, sit for an evening and watch TV and finish them up. They're like ornament finishes, so should be able to get them done pretty quickly. So I'm going to show a couple of those that I'm doing. Obviously not new Christmas ornaments for exchanges because I haven't started those yet. I haven't even picked out what I'm doing yet. And they were for gifts. They'll be for gifts, so I'll be doing those later. But I'll show you what I do have ready to go on the continuing stitching or finishing pile. So the first thing is for Tudor Rose Sampler Guild, and on the 17th and 24th of September I'll be taking a finishing class with other members of the guild on the button etui from Denise Harrington Pratt, also known as Amaryllis Artworks. This is one picture of the finished project and a couple others from inside the kit of the different components and inside the flat and stuff. So this is the top, that's the bottom. The insides has a felt section for needles and then a little scissor case. And then these are the front view and the back view of it done. She provided numerous colorways that you could pick. So there's different fabrics and there's different flosses. So everybody's are kind of going to be their own custom thing. And you supply the buttons. So whether you're digging in your stash of buttons or you go buy some, that's totally up to you. I don't really have a great button stash. So I will likely be going over to Joann's sometime in the next week or so and having a field day picking out some funky ones for mine. But, so before the class, I have to get all of the stitching done so that the class can focus entirely on the finishing portions. So far I have the lid done other than the buttons, and that looks to me to be the heaviest stitching of the whole thing. The very bottom of it, where you have your customization, would probably be the next heaviest. But this is what I have done so far. This is stitched on 28 count cream linen and casual linen, and my colorway is Water Lilies, which is the silk line from Karen collection, and the color is Black Iris. So it ranges from a really pretty green, springy green, to a beautiful royal purple. And my entire piece will be done mixing and matching with that color. The red lines that you see here are the basting lines per the instructions from Denise. And so her charts and her finishing instructions are very detailed. Another piece that you may have seen off and on over the last few years is her Quaker Ball. A few of my friends have finished that, and very, very detailed instructions with great photos, color photos, to show you how to put everything together, where to position everything on your fabric. So you really, as long as you follow the directions and are just patient, I think it should be fine for anybody of any skill to do this stitching. So there's where we are on that one. So if all goes well, that's going to be done by the end of September. Here's hoping. I just started it like 2 weeks ago. So that might be like one of the fastest start to finishes I have. Okay, so next up on my smalls finishing, I didn't take this out of its bag, of course, is You Were Hatched by Teresa Wentzler. I've had this chart since it was originally released. I picked it up in a shop back in, what year was this one? 2004. So this is an original. I didn't stitch it though until I had my son. And originally this was going to become his birth chart. And then I found my Rosewood Manor for the, now I totally forget the name of it. Anyway, her birth sampler, which is, To Have a Child is the name of it. So I finished that one as Max's birth sampler. So I no longer needed all the tons of fabric I have here to create a custom birth sampler. This is what I have done. And I started one of the Celtic knots. I think I had it wrong. I'm still kind of deciding if I just want to leave it without the square Celtic knots on the side or not to finish it up. I really haven't decided. So what do you think? I'm kind of in the middle on it. I have the floss. I picked up some dinky dyes to finish off those. But what do you think? Do you think I should finish all of the knot work, or should I just start finishing it as a pillow as is? Leave me your thoughts in the comments, because I'm still kind of not sure either way. But I've loved this pattern, and Mama Dragon with her baby dragon. So one way or the other, this is going to get finished and put on my tree this year. That one I stitched on, forgot to pull the info on it, but I think it's 32 count or possibly 36 count linen. Just plain white. Nothing fancy. And the colors so far are all the charted DMCs. I did have to make an adjustment for if I do wind up doing the knot work. The original called for was, let's see here, Fantasy Blues from Dinky Dyes. But that colorway has changed dramatically since 2004. And it was like almost it was almost like this and this color are purple. So it did not go anymore. So I brought this to a shop and was just trying to place colors, and this is what I came up with, called Down Under Blues, which is number 147 from Dinky Dyes. And it's probably the closest that I could find that looks like the original picture. But this was just a situation, where years upon years upon years, dye lots change. They just do. So sometimes you have to make adjustments. So there's that one. The other two that I found to finish up they're just about done, and I don't know, well, one of them I know who the designer is. The other person I don't, I'm sorry, but I'm going to make a wild guess. So this is Life's a Stitch. And I want to say that I stitched this sometime around probably 2010 to 2012. It definitely was not after my son was born. It was before my son was born. There was a traveling chart. So one person had it and they stitched it in whatever colorway they wanted to. And we had like a lineup of people to stitch it. And so it kind of became like the traveling pants kind of a thing. It was a traveling chart, and we all shared our finish. So that's what mine looks like, but I never finished it. I don't know what fabric this is on, and floss would have been just whatever I had hanging around. Obviously, this is a variegated of some sort, but and some DMC, but I don't know anything else about the fabric. It is an over dye. It's probably silk weaver, like a sky blue. So that'll just finish as probably like a little ornament that I can like hang off of my light bulb over here by work or something. And the other one is definitely a Britter cup because her designs are very specific and you can ID them pretty quickly. And I'm pretty sure it came from a Halloween issue. I want to say I stitched this probably 2011 because it was going to become an ornament exchange at one of the first couple of Stitcher's Hideaway retreats I went to, but I didn't get it done in time. I'm positive this is an Adjust Cross Stitch issue sometime between like 2010 2011. So that's that. And actually, is that on the same? No, it's not. That's more gray. It's not the same fabric. So there's that one. I'm sure again, I just kind of pulled what I had from stash to stitch it. It just needs to be finished outlining it, and then I can finish this up. I may try a really little flat fold, or maybe try like a little needle book or something with this, because it might be kind of a fun one for like a little doodad book. We shall see. But so I'm going to finish this one this month. Again, nice, easy little finishes. Stuff's done. I just need to sit and do it. And that will probably take me through the month, because by the time I get the button etui done and get all that stitching done, and then the finishing work on that, plus that may be my month. If that isn't my month, I've got other smalls I can just tinker with and finish this month. And there's also a couple of stitch alongs going on the semi-sane stitchers that I've kind of started, but I may fall off of to do this work. We'll see. So those are my stitching plans. I've also gotten a couple of fun things of stash lately. So my copy of the Christmas issue just arrived on Wednesday. It's a much better issue than it's been lately. I know last year was kind of left a lot of bad tastes in people's mouths. This one's a little bit better. It's still, there's a blatant drop off from what it used to be, and it's because of how they were treating the designers, and I don't blame the designers at all for dropping out of the magazine for how they were treating them with this. But it's better than it's been. There are a few that I would like to stitch in here, and one of the things I have found with the holiday issues is they're good to keep around because my tastes may change. They have changed, and I always find something in the issues that somehow I skipped over a year or two before. So I keep these. You know, the other issues I may ditch after a while, but I keep these. Hi, Tobe. Yes, you're being a good boy. I also got the Halloween issue, which to this day I don't understand why this isn't part of the subscription, but whatever. So I picked mine up a few weeks ago at Joann's. Again, there's some really cute stuff in here. Not the Halloween issues of old, but this one is significantly better than what they were a couple of years ago. So, pretty happy with this one. If you do want this, you may want to get it soon because the issues were starting to disappear, I noticed, at some of the craft stores. And so, The Christmas one just came out, so if you don't see that on the shelves right now, give it a couple of weeks. They're probably going to start showing up by the end of September at different stores. Okay, let's see. What else do I have? As I mentioned a little while ago, in mid-July, I participated in the Frogwarts Exchange, and they have just random raffle things, drawings and such, where, you know, everyone's assigned a number, and I won one of them. So my win was Matter in Hand by Jeanette Douglas, which is awesome because I am a huge Jeanette Douglas fan. This is a copyright 2022 chart, so this is brand new for her. Looking at the back, it's really not a big design, even though there's a lot in it. Her designs tend to be packed with little stuff. On 40 count, it says it's 6.5 by just under 8.5 inches. 139 by 164 stitch, so not too bad. And it's charted with Classic Color Works, Gentle Art, and Weeks. So all cottons for this one, which is kind of unusual for Jeanette. She does a lot of stuff in silks, so that'll be nice. But I'm looking forward to this. That will be one that will definitely, I will probably grab stuff out of my Color and Cotton stash to stitch these, because I think I have a lot of flosses that will go perfectly with this. And speaking of which, this is my August thread club from Color and Cotton. Now I do both clubs. I do 5 colors for both. So one is the bolds and one is the more traditional ones. And it is all autumn Halloweeny this time, which is fantastic. So, aren't these pretty? I mean, it's like Halloween and autumn all wrapped up in one. So we have, I'll read off my colors. I have Pumpkin Pie, Creeping Vines, Carving Pumpkin, which is just a little brighter than the Pumpkin Pie. We have Cauldron Bubble, Raven, which is kind of a pretty, almost wrought iron gray. Under Your Spell, which is a just past royal purple, going a little darker with kind of flecks of darker purple in there. We have Bewitched, which is a beautiful dark, just past hunter green color. Witchful Thinking, pretty purple. Oh My Gourd, which is another pretty orange into a lighter orange. For perspective, here's the Carving Pumpkin. So that one is definitely, you can see much more of like a brown tannish color. And compared to Pumpkin Pie, it is significantly lighter than that one. And then the final one is Full Moon, which is a pretty silvery gray. So those will be nice to stitch with, coming up soon. And the last thing that I have received recently is my Fabric of the Month from Do Stitch Me. And sorry, there's going to be a little plastic stuff. Since it's been a couple of days, I put it back in the plastic because cats. This is called Water Nymph, and I get 40 count linen for mine. So this is the color. It's coming up, just picture it just like a couple of shades brighter than what it's coming up on my screen. It's almost like a minty aqua, but really pretty color. A nice brighter color neutral. So I am super excited about that. And that is what I have received. Yeah, and I think that's about it. So I will end it for now. I'll probably do another episode sometime in the middle of the retreat, well, my class weekend. So sometime around the 17th, either that day or the next morning, to show you what I've gotten done so far for my class. And until then, have a wonderful month stitching, and I will see you later. Take care, all. Bye.